Hannah's head pounded as she slowly opened her eyes. The metal floor beneath her was cold and rough. She tried to move, but her wrists were locked in heavy chains. The air smelled strange, like burnt metal and something sweet that made her stomach. She was in a small cell with thick bars. Beyond the bars, she could see a long hallway with dim purple lights. Strange sounds echoed from somewhere far away, clicking, buzzing, and what sounded like cheering crowds. "Where am I?" she whispered to herself. The last thing she remembered was the attack on their ship. She and Dojin had been on a mission to check the outer planets for enemy activity. They were supposed to be safe out there? Nobody was supposed to find them, but they did. The enemy ships came out of nowhere, fast and silent. Dojin had tried to fight them off while Hannah worked on the engines. She could still hear his voice over the radio, calm and steady even as their ship was being torn apart. "Hannah, get to the escape pods," he had said. "Not without you," she had replied. "That's an order, Commander." But there had been no time for escape pods. The ship exploded around them. And now Dojin was gone. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway. 3 aliens walked toward her cell. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms each. Their eyes were black and huge, like dark pools. They wore simple clothes and carried energy weapons. One of them pressed something on the wall. The bars of her cell disappeared with a soft hum. "Come," it said in broken human language. Its voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. Hannah stood slowly. Her legs felt weak, but she tried not to show it. The aliens led her down the long hallway. As they walked, she studied everything around her. The walls were made of some kind of metal she had never seen before. The lights came from strips built into the ceiling. Everything was designed to be strong and simple. They passed other cells. Most were empty, but in a few she saw creatures she didn't recognize. Things with too many eyes, or covered in scales, or made of what looked like living shadow. They all looked scared. The hallway opened into a huge room. Hannah stopped walking and stared. She had never seen anything like it. The room was enormous, bigger than any building on Earth. The ceiling was so high she could barely see it. All around the walls were seats filled with aliens. Thousands of them, maybe millions. They were all different. Some had fur, some had wings, some looked like giant insects. But they were all watching and waiting. In the center of the room was a large circular area surrounded by a glowing barrier. It looked like an arena. The floor was covered in sand that had dark stains on it. Hannah didn't want to think about what those stains were. "Welcome to Nexus 7, said a new voice. This one spoke perfect human language. Hannah turned and saw an alien. Unlike the others, it was shorter and wider, with blue skin and a face that looked almost human except for the rows of sharp teeth. It wore expensive clothes covered in jewels. "I am Overlord Vex," it said with a smile that showed all those teeth. "You're my newest entertainment." "Where am I?" Hannah asked. "The greatest arena in the galaxy," Vex replied. "Beings come from across the stars to watch the extinction games. Species that think they are strong send their best warriors to fight. Most die quickly. It's very amusing." Hannah felt cold. "You want me to fight?" "Fight? Oh, my dear human, you misunderstand." Vex laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You are not here to fight. You are here to die. The only question is how quickly." Around the arena, lights began flashing. Images appeared in the air showing odds and numbers. Hannah could see her own face on some of the displays. "The betting has already begun," Vex explained. "Most think you will die in less than 5 minutes. The odds are 1,000 to 1 against your survival. I myself have wagered a significant amount on your quick death." "Why?" Hannah asked. "Why are you doing this?" Vex's smile disappeared. "Because your species has become a problem. Humans have been expanding too fast, learning too quickly. You defeated the Kalos fleet last year. You destroyed 3 Malaxi battle stations. You even resisted Scion mind control." He began walking around her in a slow circle. "So we decided to test you. Send your best warrior to our games. When she dies horribly, we will broadcast her death across the galaxy. Every species will see that humans are weak. Then we will destroy your homeworld and no one will object. Hannah felt anger rising in her chest. These aliens had killed Dodgen. They had destroyed her ship. And now they wanted to use her death to justify destroying Earth. What? If I win? She asked. The entire arena fell silent. Then Vex began laughing again, louder this time. Soon all the aliens in the seats were laughing too. Win? Vex wiped tears from his eyes. My dear child, look around you. Do you see the size of this place? Do you see how many species are watching? For over 1,000 years we have held these games. Do you know how many have won their freedom? Hannah waited. 3, Vex said. 3 beings in 1,000 years. And they were all from species much stronger than yours. You humans are soft, you break easily. You have no claws, no armor, no special abilities. You are nothing but clever animals who learn to use tools. The guards pushed Hannah toward a gate at the edge of the arena. As they walked, she noticed more things about the place. The walls had weapon racks built into them. The ceiling had machines that could drop obstacles or creatures into the fighting area. Everything was designed to make the fights more interesting for the watchers. Your first opponent is already waiting, Vex called after her. A Gornoth warrior. 12 feet tall, armored skin, acid breath. It has killed 47 beings in this arena. You will be number 48. They stopped at a heavy metal door. One of the guards unlocked her chains. You have 5 minutes. To prepare, it said. Choose any weapon you want from the racks, not that it will help. The door opened and Hannah stepped into a small room. The walls were covered with weapons from across the galaxy. Energy guns, metal swords, projectile launchers, things she couldn't even identify. But as she looked at them, she began to think, these aliens expected her to grab a weapon and try to fight like a warrior. That's what all the other species did. That's why they lost. But Hannah wasn't a warrior. She was an engineer. She walked to the weapon racks. But instead of taking something to fight with, she started looking at how they were built. The power sources, the connection points, the control systems. Her mind began working the way Jiwan had taught her back on the ship. Every system has parts, she could hear his voice saying, and every part can be used for something else. A loud horn sounded. The door on the far side of the room opened. Beyond it, she could see the arena floor and hear the roar of the crowd. Hannah picked up a small energy pistol, not because she planned to shoot with it, but because she needed its power cell. She also grabbed some metal wire and a few other small parts. As she walked toward the arena, she thought about Dodgen, about how he had stayed calm even when their ship was exploding, about how he had trusted her to find a way to survive. I won't let them win, she whispered. I won't let them destroy Earth. The crowd's roar got louder as she stepped into the arena. Across from her, the Gornoth warrior was waiting. It was exactly as big as Vex had said, covered in thick scales that looked like armor plates. When it saw her, it opened its mouth and roared, showing rows of sharp teeth. But Hannah wasn't looking at the creature. She was looking at the arena itself. The lights, the barriers, the control systems, all the things the other fighters had ignored. Let the games begin. Vex's voice boomed across the arena. The Gornoth charged toward her, its heavy feet shaking the ground. Hannah smiled and got to work. The Gornoth warrior charged across the arena floor like a living tank. Its clawed feet left deep marks in the sand with each step. The creature's mouth opened wide, showing rows of sharp teeth dripping with green acid. Hannah ran to the side, not away from the beast but toward one of the arena walls. The crowd in the seats above began cheering louder. They thought she was running in fear. They were wrong. As the Gornoth turned to follow her, Hannah reached the wall and pressed her hand against it. The metal was warm and she could feel vibrations running through it. Power lines. Lots of them. The creature was only 20 feet away now. Its red eyes were locked on her and acid dripped from its mouth onto the sand, making small hissing sounds. Where it landed, Hannah pulled out the energy pistol she had taken from the weapon room. But instead of pointing it at the Gornoth, she aimed it at a small panel on the arena wall. The panel was marked with symbols she couldn't read, but she didn't need to read them. She could see the power flow patterns in the metal around it. She fired. The energy bolt hit the panel and sparks flew out. Immediately, the magnetic barriers around the arena began flickering. The aliens in the crowd started making worried sounds. The Gornoth was 10 feet away. It raised its claws and opened its mouth to spray acid at her. Hana dove to the ground and rolled behind a metal post that held up the arena barriers. As she moved, she pulled the wire she had taken from the weapon room. Working fast, she connected one end to the damaged panel and wrapped the other end around the metal post. The Gornoth's acid spray missed her by inches. Where it hit the arena wall, the metal began to smoke and melt. "What is she doing?" she heard Vex shout from somewhere above. "Why doesn't she fight?" The creature stepped around the post, moving slower now. It seemed confused by her behavior. Like all the aliens, it expected her to attack with weapons or try to run away. It didn't understand what she was really doing. Hana looked up at the arena barriers. They were still flickering from the damage to the power panel. Perfect. She pulled out more pieces from her pockets, small parts she had taken from the weapons in the preparation room. Working with her hands while keeping her eyes on the Gornoth, she connected them together into a simple device. Captain Minho had taught her this trick years ago during training. "Every system has a weakness," he had said. "You just need to find the right frequency." The Gornoth raised its claws again, ready to strike. Its armored scales gleamed under the arena lights. Hana activated her device. The arena's magnetic field generators began resonating at a specific frequency. The barriers flashed brighter and started pulling at anything metallic in the fighting area. The Gornoth's scales weren't just armor. They had metal in them, iron and other minerals that had made the creature strong and tough. But now those same metals became its weakness. The magnetic field grabbed the creature and pulled it toward the arena wall. The Gornoth roared in surprise and anger, fighting against the invisible force. But the more it struggled, the stronger the pull became. Hana adjusted her device, increasing the frequency. The Gornoth slammed into the arena wall with a loud crash. The magnetic field held it there, pressing its armored body against the metal surface. The creature's arms and legs were spread wide, pinned by the force of the magnets, but Hana wasn't done yet. She activated the final part of her plan. The wire she had connected between the damaged power panel and the metal post began carrying electrical current from the arena's main power system. The current flowed through the wire into the post and then into the metal wall where the Gornoth was pinned. The creature's metal-filled scales conducted the electricity perfectly. Lightning arced across the Gornoth's body. It screamed, a sound like metal tearing. Its red eyes went wide with shock and pain. The electricity flowed through every metal-filled scale, cooking the creature from the inside. The smell of burnt flesh filled the arena. After 10 seconds, Hana turned off her device. The magnetic field stopped and the electrical current ended. The Gornoth's body slid down the wall and fell to the arena floor. It didn't move again. The arena was completely silent. Hana stood up and brushed sand off her clothes. She looked up at the thousands of aliens in the seats around her. They were all staring at her with wide eyes and open mouths. She had killed a Gornoth warrior without using a single traditional weapon. She had turned the arena itself into her tool. "Impossible," she heard Vex whisper, but it wasn't impossible. It was engineering. The silence broke as some aliens began making excited noises. Others seemed angry or confused. The betting displays around the arena began changing rapidly as new wagers were placed. Guards came out to drag away the Gornoth's body. Other guards surrounded Hana and led her back toward the preparation room. As they walked, she heard Vex speaking to someone in a language she didn't understand. He sounded upset. Back in the preparation room, Hana sat on a metal bench and tried to process what had just happened. She had won her first fight, but she knew this was only the beginning. The aliens wouldn't make the same mistake twice. Her next opponent would be different. As she sat there, memories of her old life came back to her. She remembered working on the ship with Jiwan, learning how every system connected to every other system. She remembered Captain Minho teaching her tactics, showing her how to think about problems from different angles. Most of all, She remembered dodging, how he had always believed she could solve any problem if she just looked at it the right way. Going to get out of here, she said quietly. And when I do, I'm going to make sure Earth is ready for these aliens. The door opened and one of the gray-skinned guards entered. It carried a tray of food and water. Next fight in 6 hours, it said in its scratchy voice. Rest now. After the guard left, Hana ate the strange food and drank the water. It tasted awful, but she needed her strength. As she ate, she thought about what she had learned from the first fight. The arena had many systems. Power, barriers, lighting, environmental controls. The aliens used all of these systems to make the fights more entertaining. But systems could be turned around and used in unexpected ways. She had also learned something about the aliens themselves. They were used to seeing physical combat. Claws against teeth, strength against strength. They didn't expect technical solutions to fighting problems that gave her an advantage, but she would need to be careful. The aliens were already adjusting. She could see it in how they looked at her now. The contempt was still there, but there was also wariness. When the 6 hours were up, the guards came for her again. This time, they put energy-dampening cuffs on her wrists before leading her to the preparation room. No more tricks with power systems, one of them said. Data nodded, but she was already thinking about other possibilities. Energy wasn't the only tool available to an engineer. In the preparation room, she looked at the weapon racks again. This time she noticed things she had missed before. The way the room's air circulation worked, the materials used in the walls and floor, the small maintenance access panels scattered around the room. Her second opponent was already being announced to the crowd. A helix assassin, a creature that could phase through solid matter. It had killed 30 beings in the arena. By simply reaching through their armor and stopping their hearts? How do you fight something you can't touch? She wondered, then she smiled. She remembered something Dr. Hyun-woo had taught her at the academy. Engineering isn't about building things, Hana. It's about understanding how everything connects. A creature that could phase through matter still had to follow some kind of physical laws. It had to have a way to control when it was solid and when it wasn't. And if there was a control system, there was a way to interfere with it. Hana began gathering new materials from around the room. Not weapons this time, but components. Pieces that could be put together in ways the aliens wouldn't expect. The horn sounded again. Time for round 2. As she walked toward the arena, Hana thought about the thousands of aliens watching her. They had bet against her survival. They wanted to see her die so they could justify destroying her entire species, but she was still alive. As she was learning, the betting displays showed new odds, 500 to 1 against her surviving the second fight. The aliens still thought she would lose, but they weren't quite as certain now. That was progress. The arena door opened and she stepped out into the bright lights. Across from her, she saw her new opponent. The helix assassin looked like a tall, thin human covered in black skin that seemed to shift and move like liquid. Its eyes were silver and it had no mouth that she could see. As she watched, the creature began to fade, becoming transparent. The crowd roared with excitement. Hana picked up the components she had gathered and got back to work. The helix assassin moved like smoke across the arena floor. One moment it was solid. The next, it was a ghost that could walk through walls. Hana watched it carefully, trying to understand how its phasing ability worked. The creature didn't just disappear, it shifted between two states. When it was solid, she could see it clearly. When it phased, it became translucent but still visible, like looking through thick glass. That meant it wasn't truly disappearing. It was moving between dimensions, but still connected to this one somehow. The assassin began circling her, moving in and out of its solid state, testing her reactions. The crowd was cheering loudly, expecting another quick kill. Hana ignored them and focused on the arena around her. This time she couldn't use the power systems. The energy-dampening cuffs prevented that. But there were other systems. She looked up at the ceiling. Holographic projectors created images in the air above the fighting area, showing replays and advertisements to the alien audience. The projectors used coherent light beams to create their displays. Light was energy, but a different kind than electricity. The Helix assassin solidified 10 feet away from her. It raised its arms and she could see that its hands ended in sharp claws. Then it faced again and started moving toward her, planning to reach through her chest and grab her heart. Hannah pulled out the components she had gathered, mirrors from the weapon room's decoration, focusing lenses from a broken scope, and metal wire to hold everything together. Working quickly, she began building something the aliens had never seen before. The assassin was 5 feet away. Still phased when Hannah activated her improvised device, she had built a laser using the arena's own holographic projectors by redirecting their coherent light through the mirrors and lenses. She created a focused beam of energy that struck the phasing creature. The Helix assassin screamed, a sound like breaking wind. Where the laser hit it, its translucent form began to solidify. Unwillingly, the light interfered with whatever energy allowed it to phase between dimensions. Hannah adjusted the mirrors, moving the laser beam across the creature's body. Everywhere the light touched, the assassin became solid. And when part of it was solid, while other parts were phased, it created internal stress that tore at the creature's body. The assassin tried to move away, but Hannah followed it with the laser beam. She had turned the entire arena's lighting system into a weapon that could force the creature to become solid. Once it was fully materialized, the fight became much simpler. The Helix assassin was fast and had sharp claws, but it was built for stealth killing, not direct combat. Without its phasing ability, it was just another alien with weapons. Hannah used the metal wire from her device to create a simple trap. When the assassin charged at her, she tangled its feet and sent it crashing to the arena floor. Then she used a piece of broken mirror to cut its throat. The creature died quickly, its silver blood pooling in the sand. Again, the arena fell silent. The aliens in the seats stared down at her with expressions she was beginning to recognize. Confusion mixed with growing respect and fear. Overlord Vex's voice boomed across the arena. 2 victories. The human continues to surprise us. But do not worry, dear friends, more challenges await. As the guards led her away, Hannah noticed that some of the aliens were now betting on her survival. Not many, but some. The odds had shifted to 200 to 1 against her. Still terrible odds, but better than before. Back in her cell, Hannah found she wasn't alone. A small human woman sat on the floor in the corner. She looked young, maybe 25, with short black hair and tired eyes. "Hello," the woman said in Korean. "My name is Sojin. I work on this station." Hannah sat down across from her. "Work? You mean you're not a prisoner?" Sojin laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I'm a slave. Have been for 3 years. I maintain the systems that keep this place running." "How did you get here?" "Same way as you, probably. Captured during a raid. But I'm not a fighter, so they put me to work instead of in the arena." Sojin looked at Hannah with curious eyes. "You're different from the other fighters they bring here." "How so? You think before you act. Most beings they throw in there just grab weapons and try to fight. You use the arena itself." "Very clever." Hannah leaned forward. "Tell me about this place. What do you know about the systems?" Sojin smiled. The first genuine smile Hannah had seen since her capture. "I know everything about the systems. I fix them when they break. And lately, a lot of things have been breaking." For the next several hours, Sojin told Hannah about Nexus 7. The station was huge, with millions of beings living and working on it. The arena was just one part. There were also gambling halls, restaurants, hotels, and administrative areas where the consortium conducted business. "The whole station runs on a central power core," Sojin explained. "It's heavily protected, but the power distribution network reaches everywhere. If you know how to access it, you could control a lot of systems," Hannah finished. "Exactly. I've been mapping the network for 3 years, waiting for a chance to use what I've learned." Hannah felt hope for the first time since her capture. "Why haven't you tried to escape?" Sujin's expression darkened. "Where would I go? We're in deep space, surrounded by alien fleets. Even if I could steal a ship, I don't know the way back to human space." But I do, Hannah said. I'm a military officer. I know the star charts. They talked through the night, sharing information and making plans. Sujin knew the station's weaknesses. Hannah knew how to exploit them. Together they might actually have a chance. When morning came, the guards arrived to take Hannah to her third fight. But first, they brought her to a medical room where alien doctors examined her. They scanned her body with strange devices and took samples of her blood. What are you doing? Hannah asked. One of the doctors, a creature with multiple arms and eyes, replied in broken human language. Study you. Understand how human body works. Make better ways to kill humans. The casual way it said this made Hannah's blood run cold. These aliens weren't just entertaining themselves with her death. They were learning from her fights, gathering information to use against her species. After the medical examination, they took her to the preparation room. This time, the weapon racks had been changed. Many of the more complex devices were gone, replaced with simple swords and clubs. No more tricks. One of the guards said, "Fight like warrior now." But Hannah had spent the night learning about the station systems from Sojin. She knew where the maintenance panels were, how the air circulation worked, and what materials the walls were made from. She didn't need complex weapons. An engineer could make tools from anything. Her third opponent was announced, a Scion Mindweaver, a creature that could control thoughts and create illusions. The crowd seemed especially excited about this fight. Apparently, watching beings go insane was popular entertainment. As Hannah was led to the arena entrance, she thought about something Master Junho had taught her during martial arts training back on Earth. Your mind is your strongest weapon, he had said. Keep it clear and calm and you can overcome any enemy. She had never expected to use that lesson against an alien psychic, but the principle was the same. The arena door opened. Across the fighting area, Hannah saw her new opponent. The Scion Mindweaver looked almost human, but its skin was pale white and its eyes were completely black. It wore simple robes and carried no weapons. It didn't need weapons when it could reach into minds and tear them apart from the inside. As soon as Hannah stepped into the arena, she felt the creature's mental touch. Images flashed through her mind, memories that weren't hers, fears that came from nowhere, visions of terrible things happening to people she cared about. She saw Dojin dying over and over again. She saw Earth burning under alien weapons. She saw herself failing and everyone she had ever loved paying the price, but Hannah had been prepared for this. She used the meditation techniques Master Junho had taught her, building walls in her mind to protect her most important thoughts. She let the false visions flow through her. Without believing them, the Scion seemed surprised that its mental attacks weren't working. It pressed harder, sending stronger illusions. Hannah smiled and began working on her real plan. While the creature was focused on attacking her mind, she was quietly sabotaging the arena's neural inhibitor fields, systems designed to prevent psychic abilities from affecting the audience, but instead of preventing psychic energy, she was going to reverse the fields and amplify it. The Mindweaver was about to learn what happened when a psychic tried to read the mind of an engineer who had turned the entire arena into a feedback loop. The Scion Mindweaver's mental assault felt like ice picks stabbing into Hannah's brain. False memories flooded her mind, images of her friends dying, Earth destroyed, her own body broken and bleeding in the arena sand. But Hannah had spent years learning to control her thoughts. Master Junho had taught her to build compartments in her mind, keeping important memories safe while letting the rest flow like water. She let the false visions wash over her without believing them. At the same time, she knelt down and pressed her hands against the arena floor, pretending to be overcome by the psychic attack. The aliens in the crowd cheered. They thought she was finally being defeated. They were wrong. While the Mindweaver focused on breaking her sanity, Hannah worked on the real battle. Her fingers found the small maintenance access panel she had spotted during her earlier fights. Sujin had told her about these panels. They controlled the neural inhibitor fields that protected the audience from psychic abilities. The fields were designed to absorb and neutralize mental energy, but like any system, they could be modified. Hannah pulled a small piece of metal from her boot, part of a broken weapon she had hidden there during her second fight. Using it as a tool, she carefully rewired the panel's connections. The Mindweaver pressed its attack harder. The false visions became more real, more terrible. Hana saw herself as a child, watching her parents die. She saw Dojin screaming as their ship exploded. She saw millions of humans being slaughtered by alien weapons. For a moment, the images almost felt real. But then she remembered something Admiral Subin had taught her during resistance training. The mind can be a fortress, Subin had said, but only if you know how to build the walls. Hana had built those walls, and behind them she kept the truth safe, her real memories, her real emotions. Her real purpose, she finished rewiring the neural inhibitor system and activated it instead of absorbing psychic energy. The modified fields now amplified it and reflected it back at its source. Every mental attack the Mindweaver sent at Hana bounced back at the creature twice as strong. The scion screamed, It tried to stop its attack, but it was too late. The feedback loop was already established. Its own psychic energy was flowing through the arena's systems and coming back to hit its mind like a hammer. The creature fell to its knees, clutching its head. Its black eyes rolled back and strange sounds came from its throat. Hana stood up and walked toward it. The Mindweaver tried to look at her, but its own reflected mental energy was tearing apart its consciousness. You made a mistake, Hana said quietly. You tried to break my mind with fear. But fear only works if you don't understand what you're afraid of. The scion tried to speak, but only gibberish came out. Its mental abilities were destroying themselves in the feedback loop. Hana knelt beside the creature. I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm not afraid of failing. You know why? The Mindweaver's eyes focused on her for a moment. Because I understand how systems work, and you're just another system. She pressed her hand against the creature's forehead. The contact completed the feedback circuit, sending the full force of the amplified psychic energy directly into the scion's brain. The Mindweaver's body went rigid, then collapsed. It was still breathing, but its eyes were empty. Its mind was gone, burned out by its own power. The arena was silent for a long moment. Then slowly, some of the aliens began making sounds, not cheers, but something that sounded almost like respect. Hana looked up at the thousands of faces staring down at her. Many of them no longer looked confident about her chances of dying. The betting displays around the arena changed rapidly. The odds against her survival were now 50-1. Still bad, but much better than when she started. More importantly, she could see fear in some of the alien faces. They were beginning to understand that she wasn't just lucky, she was dangerous. Overlord Vex's image appeared on the displays around the arena. He was trying to smile, but Hana could see anger and worry in his expression. 3 victories, he announced. The human continues to entertain us, but do not concern yourselves, friends. We have prepared something special for her next challenge. As the guards led her away, Hana noticed they were more careful now. More of them, better weapons, energy restraints that were tighter and stronger. They were starting to take her seriously. Back in her cell, Sojin was waiting with food and water. I felt the psychic feedback through the station systems, Sojin said. Very clever, but also very dangerous. You're making them angry. Good, Hana replied. Angry beings make mistakes. They're also more likely to change the rules. Sojin looked worried. I've been listening to communications. They're planning something different for your next fight. What kind of different? I don't know yet. But they're moving equipment and preparing special systems. Whatever it is, it's going to be big. Hana ate the food and thought about what she had learned. Each fight had taught her more about the arena and the aliens who ran it. She was beginning to understand their weaknesses. The aliens expected physical combat or simple trickery. They didn't understand engineering thinking, the ability to see connections between systems and use them in unexpected ways. They also didn't understand human psychological conditioning, the military training that had taught her to compartmentalize her mind, to stay calm under pressure, to think through problems even when everything seemed hopeless. Most importantly, they didn't understand human stubbornness, the refusal to give up even when the odds were impossible. Tell me about the station's security systems, Hana said to Sojin. Why? Because I'm not just planning to survive anymore. I'm planning to escape. Sujin stared at her. That's impossible. Even if you could get out of the arena, there are thousands of guards, automated defenses, security checkpoints. Every system has weaknesses, Hana said. I just need to find them. They spent the next several hours going over the station's layout. Sujin had been working on the maintenance systems for 3 years, so she knew where all the important infrastructure was located: power distribution, life support, communications, transportation. All of it was connected through a central network that reached every part of the station. The core systems are in the center of the station, Sujin explained, heavily guarded and protected. But the distribution networks go everywhere. If you could access them, I could control the whole station, Hana finished, in theory. But you'd need to get to the right access points, and they're not in the arena, Hana smiled. Then I'll have to leave the arena. How? Even if you win all your fights, they'll never let you go free. This is about destroying humanity, remember? They can't let you live to tell other humans what you've learned here. I know. That's why I'm not planning to wait for them to release me. The next morning, the guards came earlier than usual. They put Hana in heavier restraints and led her through parts of the station she hadn't seen before. Instead of going to the preparation room, they took her to a large chamber filled with strange equipment. Alien technicians were working on machines. She didn't recognize Overlord Vex was there, supervising the preparations. Ah, our entertainment arrives, he said when he saw her. I hope you've enjoyed your victories, human. Because today, things change. What do you mean? Vex smiled his sharp-toothed smile. Your previous opponents were individuals, fighters with their own strengths and weaknesses. But today, you face something different. He gestured to the equipment around them. Today, you fight against the combined intelligence of the consortium itself. We have analyzed your previous victories, studied your methods, and created a response specifically designed to counter your abilities. Hana looked at the machines. They were connected to the arena's systems, but also to large computer cores that hummed with processing power. You're going to fight me with computers? Not computers. Artificial intelligence. A mind that can think as fast as you can, but with access to all the arena systems at once? It will anticipate your every move and counter your every strategy. Vex leaned closer. You see, human, your victories have been impressive, but they relied on us underestimating you. We won't make that mistake again. The guards led her toward the arena entrance. As they walked, Hana thought about what she had just learned. The aliens were bringing their technology to bear against her. They were treating her like a real threat now, not just entertainment. That was exactly what she had been hoping for, because while they were focused on stopping her in the arena, they weren't paying attention to what she had really been doing. Learning about their systems, their weaknesses, and their station, and she had an advantage they didn't know about. She wasn't just an engineer anymore. She was an engineer with 3 years' worth of inside information from Sojin and a plan that went far beyond just winning fights. The arena door opened, and Hana stepped out to face her greatest challenge yet. The arena looked different this time. Instead of the usual empty fighting space, it was filled with moving platforms, energy barriers, and weapon systems that tracked her movements. Everything was connected to the humming computers she had seen. In the preparation chamber, as soon as Hana stepped onto the arena floor, the systems activated. Barriers rose from the ground, trying to trap her in a small space. Weapon turrets descended from the ceiling, aiming energy beams at her location, but the attacks were too precise, too predictable. The artificial intelligence was calculating where she would be and firing at those spots. It was thinking like a computer, not like a human. Hana smiled and did something no computer would expect. She stopped trying to win. Instead of dodging the energy beams, she ran directly toward them. Instead of avoiding the barriers, she grabbed onto them and used them to swing herself in new directions. Instead of fighting the system, she became part of it. The AI tried to adjust, but it was programmed to fight an opponent, not to deal with. someone who was using its own attacks as tools. While the computer focused on tracking her movements, Hannah was working on something much more important. She had spotted what she was looking for: a main control node that connected the arena's AI to the station's central network. Using the chaos of the battle as cover, she reached the node and began working on it with her hands. No tools this time, just the techniques her father had taught her when she was young. The biggest machines have the biggest weaknesses, she could hear Engineer Bongsu saying. They need so many connections to work that you can always find a way to break them. The AI sent more weapons after her, but Hannah was already inside its decision loop. She had found the connection she needed. Instead of just disabling the arena's systems, she used the control node to access the station's central database. Information flooded through the connection: files, records, communication logs, everything the consortium had stored in their computers. What she found made her stop, breathing for a moment. The extinction games weren't just entertainment. They were a testing system. Every species that had ever been brought here had been studied, analyzed, and cataloged. Their strengths and weaknesses were recorded in detail. And then, those species were destroyed. The database showed the locations of hundreds of homeworlds. It showed which species had been eliminated and which were marked for future destruction. It showed the consortium's plans for galactic domination. Humanity was just the latest target, but the files also showed something else. The consortium was afraid. They had been the dominant power in the galaxy for thousands of years, but new species were emerging that threatened their control. Humans were just one of several that had to be eliminated before they became too strong. Hannah downloaded as much information as she could into her own neural implant technology that Dr. Jasu had developed to help engineers remember complex technical specifications. The aliens didn't know she had it because human neural technology was different from theirs. While she worked, the AI continued its attacks. But now Hannah understood something important. The artificial intelligence wasn't trying to kill her quickly. It was trying to study her, to learn everything about human capabilities before ending the fight. That meant it would keep her alive as long as she kept presenting new challenges. Perfect. Hannah began putting on a show for the AI. She used every technique she had learned, every trick she had developed, making sure the computer recorded everything. She wanted it to think it was learning all of humanity's secrets, but what she was really doing was buying time to access more of the database. She found military records showing the true strength of the consortium's forces, communication logs revealing their plans for other species, technical specifications for their weapons and ships. Most importantly, she found something that changed everything: records of previous humans who had been brought to the station. She wasn't the first. Over the past 5 years, dozens of humans had been captured and brought here. Most had died quickly in the arena, but a few had survived longer, and their fights had been studied in detail. The aliens had been testing humanity for years, learning about human psychology, tactics, and technology. The attack on her ship hadn't been random. It had been a specific operation to capture a human engineer so they could study technical thinking. Everything that had happened to her was part of a larger plan, but the files also showed something the aliens didn't expect. They were losing the war. Despite their centuries of experience and advanced technology, the consortium was being pushed back on multiple fronts. New species were emerging faster than they could be eliminated. Old enemies were forming alliances. The galaxy was changing, and the consortium's time as the dominant power was ending. That's why they were so desperate to eliminate humanity. Humans represented everything they feared: rapid technological advancement, adaptability, and the ability to form alliances with other species. If humanity survived and joined with the other emerging powers, the consortium would fall. Hannah finished downloading the critical files and turned her attention back to the AI. It was still trying to analyze her fighting techniques, but she had learned what she needed to know. Time to end this. She accessed the arena's power distribution system through the control node. Instead of using the power for weapons or barriers, she redirected it all into the AIS processing cores. The artificial intelligence tried to compensate. But Hana overloaded its circuits faster than it could adapt. Sparks flew from control panels around the arena. The moving platforms stopped working. The weapon turrets shut down. The AI's voice spoke from speakers around the arena, but the words were garbled and broken as its mind burned out from the power. Surge. In less than 30 seconds, the most advanced artificial intelligence the consortium had ever built was reduced to scrap metal and melted circuits. The arena fell silent once again, but this time, the silence felt different. The aliens in the crowd weren't just surprised. They were scared. They had thrown their best technology at her and she had destroyed it. More importantly, she had done it while accessing their most secret information. Overlord Vex's image appeared on the displays, but his usual confident smile was gone. 4 victories, he said, and his voice sounded strained. The human has exceeded expectations. As the guards led her away, Hana noticed they were talking to each other in worried tones. Some of them kept looking at her like she was a dangerous animal that might break free at any moment. They were right to be worried. Back in her cell, Sujin was waiting with urgent news. The whole station is buzzing with rumors, she said. Some say you destroyed their most advanced AI. Others say you accessed the central database. The consortium leaders are holding emergency meetings. They should be worried, Hana replied. I know what they're really doing here. She told Sujin everything she had learned from the database, about the testing program, the planned genocide of humanity, and the consortium's fear of losing power. We have to warn Earth, Sujin said. But how? Even if we could send a message, they'd never let us. We don't need to send a message, Hana said. We're going to deliver it personally. You still think we can escape? Hana smiled. I don't think we can escape. I know we can. Because I downloaded something else from their database, the complete technical specifications for this station. Every system, every weakness, every security measure. She tapped her temple where the neural implant was hidden. It's all in here now, and tomorrow I'm going to use it. What do you mean tomorrow? They're not going to put me in the arena again. I've become too dangerous. Tomorrow they're going to try to kill me quietly, probably during transport to a more secure facility. Sujin looked worried. How do you know? Because that's what I would do if I were them. I've proven I can turn their own systems against them. The smart move is to eliminate me before I can do more damage. Then we should try to escape tonight. Hana shook her head. Not yet. There's one more thing I need to do first. What? I need to meet their real leader. The one who's been pulling the strings behind all of this. The next morning, Hana's prediction proved correct. Instead of arena guards, a team of heavily armed soldiers came to her cell. They wore full battle armor and carried weapons designed to kill, not subdue. Time to go, human, their leader said. But as they led her through the station, Hana wasn't afraid. She was ready, because while they thought they were taking her to her execution, she was really walking toward the most important confrontation of her life. The soldiers led Hana through parts of the station she had never seen before. These weren't the public areas with their bright lights and entertainment displays. This was the real Nexus 7 dark corridors lined with security systems, administrative offices, and holding areas for special prisoners. They stopped at a heavily reinforced door marked with symbols in the consortium's administrative language. 2 of the soldiers stayed outside while the others pushed Hana into a large chamber. The room was filled with alien technology, screens showing data streams, holographic displays of star maps, and communication equipment connecting to fleets across the galaxy. At the center of it all sat Overlord Vex, but he wasn't alone. Around a curved table sat representatives from dozens of alien species. Hana recognized some of them from her fights: Malaxi with their shark-like features, krill that looked like giant insects, and others she had only seen in the crowd. This was the consortium's leadership council. Welcome to the real power behind the games, Vex said. His voice was different now, colder, more businesslike. I trust your stay in the arena has been educational. Hana looked around the room, memorizing faces and analyzing the technology. I learned quite a bit. including some things you probably didn't want me to know. A Galaxy Council member leaned forward. What do you mean? I mean, I know what you're really doing here. The games aren't entertainment, they're a testing ground for species you plan to eliminate. You study how we fight, how we think, what our weaknesses are. Then you use that information to destroy entire civilizations. The aliens exchanged glances. Some looked angry, others seemed impressed that she had figured it out. Very good, Vex said. Yes, the games serve multiple purposes. Entertainment for the masses, but more importantly, intelligence gathering for our military forces. Your species has been particularly interesting to study. A krill representative clicked its mandibles together. Humans show unusual adaptability. They use available resources in unexpected ways. This makes them potentially dangerous, which is why humanity must be eliminated before you become a serious threat, Vex continued. Your homeworld's location will be broadcast to our military fleets within the next few hours. By tomorrow, Earth will be a dead world. Hannah felt cold anger building in her chest, but she kept her voice calm. You're making a mistake. How so? You think you understand humans because you've studied a few of us. But you don't understand. What makes us really dangerous? Vex smiled his sharp-toothed smile. Please enlighten us. We don't give up, ever, and we remember everything. She activated the neural implant that contained all the data she had downloaded from their systems. Information flooded through her consciousness, technical specifications, security codes, personnel records, everything she needed. At the same time, she activated the hidden modifications she had made to the station's systems during her fights. Each victory in the arena had given her access to different parts of the network. Each sabotage had created backdoors she could use later. Now, all those small changes combined into something much larger. The lights in the council chamber went out. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, but by then Hannah was already moving. She had memorized the room's layout in the few seconds before the power died. She knew where each alien was sitting, where the guards were positioned, and where the exits were located. Commander Gihun had taught her urban combat techniques during her Black Ops training. In close quarters, speed and surprise matter more than strength, he had said. Hit fast, move faster, and always have an escape route. Hannah grabbed a weapon from the nearest guard and used it to disable the others before they could react. The stunned aliens were just beginning to understand what was happening when she reached the control panel that managed the chamber's security systems. Stop her, Vex shouted, but it was too late. Hannah input the security codes she had stolen from their database and sealed all the exits. The chamber's shields activated, trapping everyone inside, including herself. What are you doing? A Galaxy Council member demanded. Teaching you about human stubbornness. Hannah replied. She activated the chamber's communication system and began broadcasting on all frequencies. Not just to the station, but to every ship and facility in the surrounding space. This is Commander Lihana of the Human Military Engineering Corps. Her voice echoed through speakers across the station. I am transmitting the complete database of consortium military operations, including the locations of all species marked for elimination, details of past genocides, and evidence of the Extinction Games program. The aliens in the chamber began shouting and trying to break through the sealed doors. Security forces to the council chamber, Vex screamed into his communicator. Stop this transmission! But Hannah had control of the station's communication array. Now, she continued broadcasting, sending the stolen data to every receiving station within range. Even if they killed her, the information would survive. The consortium has been testing and eliminating species for thousands of years, she continued, but their time is ending. New civilizations are rising that they cannot defeat. That's why they're so desperate to destroy humanity, because they know we represent their future replacements. She turned to face the trapped aliens. You made one critical error in your calculations. You assumed that because you could capture and study a few humans, you understood our entire species. But humans aren't just individuals. We're part of something larger. The sealed doors began to glow as security forces outside tried to cut through them. Every human you've killed, every ship you've destroyed, every colony you've attacked. It all gets reported back to Earth. We learn from every encounter, we adapt to every threat, and we never ever forget who our enemies are. Overlord Vex pulled out an energy weapon and pointed it at her. Enough. Stop this transmission or I'll kill. You right now? Hannah smiled. Go ahead. Kill me. Prove to the entire galaxy that the mighty consortium leadership is so terrified of one human engineer that they have to murder her in their own council chamber. Vex hesitated. The transmission was still broadcasting across multiple star systems. Millions of beings were watching and listening. Besides, Hannah continued, killing me won't stop what's coming. You see, I'm not here to escape, I'm here to deliver a message. She activated another system she had accessed, the station's internal defense grid. Weapons that were supposed to protect against external attacks now turned inward, targeting the consortium's own ships docked at the station. Explosions echoed through the structure as military vessels were destroyed in their berths. The message is simple, Hannah said as alarms blared throughout the station. Humanity knows about you now. We know what you've done, how you operate, and what you're planning. And we're coming for you? The security forces finally broke through. Sealed doors. Armed soldiers poured into the chamber, weapons raised, but Hannah had one more surprise. She activated the final system she had compromised, the station's reactor control network. Not to destroy the reactor, but to overload it in a very specific way. The lights throughout the chamber began flickering in a pattern. To the aliens, it looked like random system failures. But to any human who might be listening, it was a coded message containing the station's exact location and the best approach routes for an attack. You want to know what makes humans really dangerous? Hannah asked as the soldiers surrounded her. We're not just warriors or engineers or explorers, we're teachers. Everything I've learned here, every weakness I've discovered, every tactic that worked, it's all being transmitted to Earth right now? Vex's weapon shook in his grip. You're insane. Even if your people receive this information, they can't match our military power. We have fleets that span the galaxy. Maybe, but you know what you don't have. What? Time to prepare? Because while you've been playing games and studying individual humans, we've been building alliances with every species you've marked for elimination. All those civilizations you plan to destroy, they're working with us now. The transmission. Equipment finally shut down as the station's security systems regained control. But it was too late. The data had already been sent across multiple star systems. Even if that's true, Vex said, you won't live to see it. Hannah looked at the soldiers surrounding her, then back at the alien leaders. You still don't understand, do you? This was never about me surviving. This was about making sure humanity survives. She held up a small device she had built from components salvaged during her fights. I've been transmitting continuously since I entered this room. Every word you've said, every plan you've discussed, every secret you've revealed, it's all been broadcast to human intelligence services. The device beeped softly and went dark. Transmission complete, Hannah said. Earth knows everything now. They know about the games, about your testing program, about your plans for genocide. Most importantly, they know exactly where to find you. Overlord. Vex raised his weapon. Then you've signed your species' death warrant. We'll mobilize every fleet we have to destroy Earth before your people can use this information. Hannah smiled one final time. Too late for that, too. You see, while you were focused on me, you missed something important happening outside. She gestured toward the viewing screens that showed space around the station dot in the distance, but grow. The approaching fleet filled the viewing screens like a wall of stars. Human ships flew alongside vessels from species Hannah had never seen before, some sleek and elegant, others massive and angular, all of them armed and ready for battle. Impossible, Overlord Vex whispered. Our intelligence showed no major fleet movements in this sector, Hannah laughed. Your intelligence was looking in the wrong places. While you were focused on studying individual humans, we were busy making friends. The largest ship in the approaching fleet opened communication channels. A familiar voice filled the council chamber. "This is Admiral Jane of the United Earth Fleet," the voice said in clear, confident tones. "Nexus 7 station you are harboring. A human citizen who is captured in violation of interstellar law. Return her immediately or face the consequences." The consortium leaders looked at each other in panic. Some began giving orders to their military forces, others tried to contact their own fleets for reinforcements, but Hannah had been planning for this moment since her first night in captivity. "You might want to check your communications," she said calmly. Vex pressed controls on his command panel, trying to reach the consortium's military commanders. Static filled the speakers. "What did you do?" he demanded. "Remember those modifications I made to your systems during my fights? I didn't just create backdoors for myself. I created a virus that's been spreading through your entire network for days." The station's lights flickered as more systems came under Hannah's control. She had spent weeks learning about every circuit, every connection, every weakness in Nexus 7's infrastructure from Surgeon. Now she was using all of that knowledge at once. "Every message you try to send gets corrupted," she continued. "Every order gets delayed or misdirected. Your own communication system is working against you." Emergency alarms began sounding throughout the station as critical systems started failing. Not randomly, Hannah was targeting specific infrastructure in a carefully planned sequence. First, the docking clamps holding the consortium ships released, sending their vessels drifting away from the station. Then the defensive weapon systems powered down, leaving Nexus 7 defenseless against the approaching fleet. "Security forces to all levels," Vex shouted into his communicator. "Stop the human prisoner." But Hannah activated another system, the station's internal transport network. Maglev trains that normally carried passengers and cargo through the massive structure suddenly changed their routes, creating chaos as beings found themselves transported to random locations. At the same time, she opened all the detention centers where other prisoners were being held. Thousands of beings from dozens of species poured into the corridors, many of them seeking revenge against their consortium captors. "You see," Hannah said as pandemonium erupted around them, "engineers don't just build things. We understand how everything connects. And once you understand the connections, you can make any system do whatever you want." The sealed doors of the council chambers suddenly opened, but instead of consortium security forces, Sujin stepped through the entrance carrying a military-grade energy rifle. "I thought you might need this," she said, tossing the weapon to Hannah. "How did you get past the guards?" Sujin smiled. "Turns out a lot of the maintenance workers on this station are actually prisoners who were forced into labor. When you opened the detention centers, we decided it was time for a revolution." Explosions echoed through the station as freed prisoners fought running battles with security forces. The carefully maintained order of Nexus 7 was collapsing into chaos, but Hannah wasn't finished yet. She accessed the station's main computer core and began uploading something new, not just data this time, but a complete artificial intelligence program. It was based on human computer science, but modified with everything she had learned about consortium technology. "What are you doing now?" Vex demanded. "Giving your station a new management system," Hannah replied. "One that understands human values, like freedom and justice." The AI activated and immediately began taking control of Nexus 7 systems. But instead of trying to restore order, it began systematically shutting down everything that supported the consortium's operations. Power to administrative areas went offline. The arena's weapon systems turned on each other. The central database began broadcasting all of its contents to every ship in the surrounding space. "You're destroying everything." A Krill council member screamed. "No," Hannah said. "I'm freeing everything. This station was built on slavery and murder. It's time for it to serve a better purpose." The approaching human fleet was now close enough that individual ships could be seen clearly. Admiral Jane's voice came through the speakers again. "Nexus 7 station, your defenses are offline and your ships are disabled. Surrender now and prepare for boarding." Overlord Vex looked around the council chamber desperately. Most of the other Consortium leaders were trying to find ways to escape. Some had already fled through emergency exits. "This isn't over," he snarled at Hana. "Even if you escape, even if you destroy this station, the Consortium has hundreds of fleets across the galaxy. We'll hunt down every human world and burn them all." Hana shook her head. "You still don't understand what's happening, do you? This isn't just about rescuing me, this is about ending your empire." She activated the final program she had prepared, a complete copy of the Consortium's military database, now being transmitted to every species that had been marked for elimination. "Right now, your enemies know the location of every Consortium base, the strength of every fleet, the weaknesses of every weapon system. You've spent centuries building your empire in secret, but there are no secrets anymore." Transport beams began materializing beings throughout the council chamber. But they weren't Consortium soldiers. They were human marines in full combat armor, accompanied by warriors from the allied species. Admiral Jayan materialized in the center of the room, his weapon drawn and ready. He was exactly as Hana remembered him from their academy days, tall, confident, and completely unflappable under pressure. "Commander Hana," he said with a slight smile. "You certainly know how to cause trouble, Admiral Jayan. Good to see you again. The feeling is mutual. We've been tracking your signal since you started transmitting from this station." "Very impressive." "Work with their computer systems." The human marines quickly secured the room, disarming the remaining Consortium leaders and taking them into custody. "How did you assemble such a large fleet so quickly?" Hana asked. "We've been building the alliance for months," Jayan replied. "Your friend Sujin isn't the only human who's been sending intelligence from Consortium territory. When we received your transmission with the location of this station, it was the opportunity we'd been waiting for." He gestured toward the viewing screens, which now showed dozens of different ship designs working together in perfect coordination. "Turns out a lot of species have been looking for a chance to strike back at the Consortium. They just needed someone to show them it was possible." Overlord Vex, now in restraints, glared at Hana with pure hatred. "You've doomed your species. The Consortium has resources you can't imagine. This is just one station, one fleet." "We have thousands more," Admiral Jayan looked at him calmly. "Had thousands more? Past tense? What do you mean?" "While you were focused on this station, our allied fleets launched coordinated attacks on Consortium installations across 17 star systems. Your communication network was compromised, remember? You couldn't warn them what was coming." The Admiral activated a holographic display showing a map of local space. Red markers indicated Consortium bases and fleets. As they watched, the red markers began disappearing one by one. "Your empire was built on the assumption that no one could coordinate an effective resistance," Jayan continued. "But Commander, Hana's intelligence gave us everything we needed to prove that assumption wrong." Explosions outside the viewing ports showed the last of the Consortium ships being destroyed or captured. The great arena station that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was now completely under Allied control. "What happens now?" Sujin asked. "Now we rebuild," Hana replied. "This station becomes a symbol of freedom instead of oppression. A place where species can meet as equals instead of predators and prey." She looked around the council chamber at the captured Consortium leaders. "And these beings will stand trial for their crimes against countless civilizations," Admiral Jayan nodded. "The Alliance has already agreed to establish a joint tribunal. Representatives from every species they tried to eliminate will have a voice in determining justice." As the human marines led the prisoners away, Hana walked to the viewing screens and looked out at the massive Allied fleet. Ships from dozens of worlds, all working together for the first time in galactic history. "You know," she said to Jayan, "when I was captured, I thought my mission was just to survive long enough to warn Earth about the threat. But it became something bigger, much bigger." The Consortium's mistake was thinking that studying individual humans would tell them everything about our species. They never understood that our real strength comes from working together, learning from each other, and never giving up on our friends. She thought about Dajin, who had died protecting their ship, about all the humans who had been brought to this station before her and hadn't survived. About the 6 months after the liberation of Nexus 7, Hana stood on the observation deck of the newly renamed Freedom Station, watching construction crews from a dozen different species working together to rebuild the massive structure, where once there had been arena seating for bloodthirsty spectators. Now there were conference halls and research laboratories. The fighting pits had been converted into training facilities where beings could learn from each other instead of killing each other. "Admiral Hana," a voice said behind her. She turned to see Fleet Engineer Sung-hoon approaching with a datapad in his hands. Her old academy rival had been promoted to Chief of Station Operations after proving his worth in the technical challenges of converting the arena into a diplomatic facility. "The morning briefing is ready," he said. "We have representatives arriving from the Helix Confederacy, and the Kalos Empire wants to discuss joining the alliance." Hannah nodded. It still felt strange to be called Admiral, but the promotion had come with the territory. When you successfully coordinate the largest military operation in galactic history, command rank tends to follow. "Any word from the outer rim surveys?" she asked. 3 more consortium holdout bases were neutralized this week. The Malaxi resistance is almost completely broken, and the Krill have agreed to open negotiations. Hannah looked back out at the construction work. Amazing how quickly things could change when people